Good morning, Twitter. We're live. Today we have a conversation with one of our clients who actually went from very well paid role in a tech company to creating his own e-commerce business. And pretty much, kind of very, very insightful story, very inspiring story. For a lot of you guys who currently work in 9 to 5 or have something in your life that is not super passionate for you and you want to do the transition. So he did that. He transitioned to e-commerce. And Amit is with me here. Amit, can you hear me?
Hey Alex, how's it going? Yep,
Good. How
I'm
are
here.
you?
Good, thanks. Perfect.
Awesome. Yeah, man. I just made the introduction. Just
Oh,
mentioned
cool.
that you made a big shift in your career, transitioning from tech company career, like
hmm
a very well paid job, for by most people's standards,
Yeah,
to running your own business. And would love to learn more about your story. Inspire some people here on the call. So thank you so much for joining me.
yeah. No, thank you for having me. It's super exciting. Yeah. So it's definitely a weird transition because like generally people, I feel like once they become software engineers, they just keep doing that. But for me, it was like I'd been doing it for 14 years. I built a lot of apps. I like worked in a lot of startups, worked with some incredible people, from Google and NASA and
Wow.
some of the top companies. Those were my mentors, the engineers I worked with, and yeah, so I was doing pretty well. I feel like, and I was making decent money, and it was I guess all good. But I feel like in 20 when did I quit? 2022. I quit the startup I was at, and I was like, I'm kind of done with this because like I keep working hard, but the fruits aren't mine to really keep. Even though I was like serving as like CTO for companies and stuff, like if you're not the founder, you don't really get the full benefits. I was like, all right, what I want is abundance and freedom. So
Mm,
let's go find it. That was the main thing for me.
wow. And you've had some like pretty high position roles in those companies, right? You were making
Yeah.
like you mentioned you're making like 250 a year.
Yeah, I was making 250 a year. I had like at this startup I was at called Aptiv, that was like worth $220 million. I was CTO of that company. I was leading a team of like uh I don't know, 30 some engineers.
Wow.
Uh and like engineers that were like, that worked at like Dropbox and Pandora and Google and some big companies as well. So yeah.
Wow. That's crazy, my man. And it's like, is that like in Silicon Valley? Like, where is that?
Yeah, so I worked in Silicon Valley and then I worked in New York for a bit as well. So I like went both through both of those. And it's funny, like I actually like my college and everything was in finance, and when I got done with it, I was like, "Fuck finance, I don't like it," and then I just wanted to start my own startup, and I started my own startup, and that's how I like just taught myself how to code and became an engineer.
Oh,
And so
wow.
like, yeah, I was super lucky that I ended up getting this like one job where at this startup where I think I was like number nine or something, but the rest of the engineers were all like again from Google and some massive companies. So I learned from like the best. So it was
Wow.
amazing.
And so you quickly like rose through the ranks in those
Yeah,
companies that you worked in.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Wow. What is like what is because I've never worked like in a big like tech company. Like
yeah,
what is kind of like work life balance? If there's any like balance, at all like in those
yeah.
companies.
It's interesting. So like most of the startups I joined were like when I joined them were either I was like the first three or first 10 people, and then I grew it from that to like over 100 people or whatever, and like um, the first few years are just insane. It's kind of like that show Silicon Valley. It's not too far from that. It's just like madness happening all the time. You're you're like things blow up, and at like 2 in the morning, you're just hacking, trying to figure out what the hell's going on, and like trying to figure things out. And yeah, you make a lot of mistakes, you learn a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I feel like after like that long of doing it, I just kind of like I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, you
Mhm.
know, yeah,
Is there like a pressure, like mostly from
yeah.
like from founders of companies or from like venture capitalists that are like just want to build
Mhm.
faster? Like, what's that looking like in that environment?
I feel like when you say yes to a startup like that, you're accepting that environment.
Uh huh.
Uh, because it's, I mean, the founders do it, but like I feel like the people that join that early need to have it from within. Like you need to just be insane, you know. You need to yeah.
It's like you have a job description. Only
Yeah.
insane people apply.
Yeah, it was funny. Like my first job interview, I went on, I hand over my resume, and first of all, the recruiter was like, "Do you have a resume?" And I was like, "I don't." And they were like, "Can you make one?" And I was like, "I don't really want to, but I'll just put something together. That's fine." And so I gave them a resume, and they look at it, and they're like, "I'm really fucking confused. Like, what are you interviewing for?" Because like my background, I'd worked at Wells Fargo as a banker. I have like background in finance. I've graduated in finance. And then they see this thing where like I'd launched my first app, and it was selected as like best new app on the app store. And
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh shit, and that's like another crazy story, but like, yeah, but so I showed it to the founder, and they're like, I don't understand, I don't know what you were interviewing for. And I was like, I'm a software
Mm.
engineer. They're like, oh, okay, okay. Like,
What is like so? What was the tipping point for you?
yeah,
I feel like for a lot of people that are, maybe they work like in an environment that they don't enjoy, or maybe they just
mhm,
want to build a business to have like more freedom. I mean, not just
yeah,
financial freedom, right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
you're making decent amount of money, right? not,
yeah,
not making good amount of money, but also have a freedom to spend time with your family, like travel,
yeah,
like do things that you enjoy, kind of like have that balance for yourself. So what was the tipping point? Like, was there like any specific kind of like scenario where you decided like that's it,
yeah.
that's enough for me, like to and to
Yeah, I a little bit. So like I think part of it is like, with startups, it's a gamble, right? At the end of the day,
Mm,
it's you're just and so what you're counting on is not just the idea. The idea is the last thing, but like the founders, and you're counting on the team that you build. And I was really good at building awesome teams. Like
mm,
um
mm.
I'm sorry for not being humble about this, but like, my teams were some of the best performing teams in the company every single time. And
Wow.
so, like, that part I was very good at, but the part I couldn't control was the founders and what
Mm,
they did and like how they acted. And so at Aptiv, the company I worked at before I was CTO, and we sold it, like, we went from like a giant valuation to like a lesser valuation because of some really dumb mistakes that the founder made out
mhm.
of whatever reason. And I was like, I saw it happening for like 6 years, and I'm like following the trajectory, and I'm talking to the guy being like, hey, like this is happening, we should watch out. And like over and over and over and over, but like nothing happened or changed. And I was like, okay, like that went from amazing to shit. Like we were at one point better than Peloton, and like with every metric. And then Peloton kept inching, and we kept like ignoring it and like putting our head in the sand, because our startup was actually the first one that introduced like digital fitness
Oh
into
wow,
the
no
iPhone.
shit.
Yeah. So like 2014, we introduced this app, and like that was the first one that had anything like, you know, yeah.
Wow.
So like, but yeah, before then there was nothing. So like we built it from scratch, like every little part of it, and it was kind of rad. And we actually were the only one. And then like it's kind of like an ecom. You see one brand do well, and then
Mhm.
like 20 other pop up doing their own thing,
Yeah.
and they all sort of like in the end become the same. And if you don't set yourself apart, you're kind of fucked.
Oh
And so
wow.
Yeah.
you have to like, I mean, you have to just like innovate at like incredible speed in order to just like not just get on top, but like stay on top.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. And so when is like the so you decided to start like to get into e-commerce, like kind of like were you thinking about this for a long time? Because I feel like so
Yeah.
here we have a comment actually from Debbie Data Ray.
Yeah. Huh.
I'm also a developer at the IB. I'm 28 years, but it's side
Dang.
I want to be a marketer because I worked with my friend as a marketer, side project, and I was loving my work as a marketer,
Hmm.
but things didn't work out.
Yeah.
And and I feel like a lot of people have this inside of them, like kind of
Yeah.
want to do something else, and like they kind of like it's kind of like inside and is brewing, but this they suppress that feeling, right?
Yeah.
Either because they just have to obviously pay their bills, right? And
Yeah.
kind of like they have other responsibilities, and they just kind of like, as you said, put their kind of like head down and just do what
Hmm.
they have to
Hmm.
do, right? And
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm just curious, like
Yeah.
how was that like how was that for you? Like, were you thinking about starting your own business for a long time?
I have I feel like I've always had that in like that itch to just be like I just want to do whatever I want, and like I want to do something fun and cool, but like I also want to just have the freedom. I don't like conforming. Even as an engineer, I used to do things in a really weird way, and like and it kind of worked. I don't know why,
You're
but
rebellion.
yeah, I just like never ever liked being. I was like shit in school. I was shit in college. Like it was the same thing, but like when it comes to getting stuff done, I'm like very good, and I
Mm,
think that gave me the confidence to just be like, all I need to do is just say I'm gonna do something, and then like I don't give up. That's the thing. Is like you just have to keep
mm,
going and not give up and believe in yourself, and you can literally do anything. Because like if you think about it, it's just a skill that's learned, right? Like anything is a skill, and you can over time learn it and just be really good at it.
mm,
And all that's basically the little, like, I guess, key. And the other key is like you just have to do it better than anyone else. You
mm.
can't, if you're gonna just do shit work, uh that's not good. Like
Man,
you
I,
know
I see this is such a
yeah,
good point because I'm trying to like every day I'm trying to communicate to people like
yeah,
that people want to get into e-commerce, right? And like, okay, you want to get into
mhm,
e-commerce and you want to make money, right? So that's normal, that's obvious, right?
yeah,
You all want to make
yeah,
more money, but as kind of like as a bigger picture, your ability to make money and make a lot of money is kind of like
mhm,
predicated like how good you are at what you
yeah,
do, right? And it takes time to become good. It doesn't happen
yeah,
instantaneous, right? Like you
mm,
learn new things, and it's a learning process. And sometimes you fail. Sometimes certain
yeah,
things like they don't work out right away. And it's not
mhm,
like you're getting into like e-commerce or you start any other business like from day one you start making like a lot of money because maybe you're
right,
simply not good, right? And so you
yeah,
you have to become good, and as a
yeah,
result of that, you start making a lot of money. And like
mhm,
you're like the reflection of that. Like you stayed at that career, like, and you were like very good, you were obsessed about that, right? Now you
yeah,
just reflecting that same passion for the new field,
mhm,
which is
right,
e-commerce. So I'm very excited for your
yeah,
future. But also, I mean, alongside you had some things that didn't work out, right? It's like you
oh yeah.
launched like the luxury apparel brand.
Oh yeah, so not a lingerie brand. So I actually wore this shirt because I was like, this will make the story a lot easier. So like, so this shirt, oh shit,
Oh
this
man,
is,
yeah, I love it. Can I buy
yeah.
one?
Not anymore. Maybe I'll send you one. So what happened was, you know, when I was thinking about leaving, I basically like, so I'm a huge Porsche fan, right? Like and like my 911, I love more than anything else. And
Which
I
one you have?
I have a 997.2 and
Wow, it's which year is that?
2011. And
Uh-huh.
so that's the last one with like a proper hydraulic steering wheel before they went all electronic.
Oh wow.
And so yeah, so that was like my like dream model, and I ended up getting it and then like quitting my job. And I was like, oh shit, I should have waited. But like in my office, what I wanted to do was actually like just have a really cool poster that I made of all the different like 9/11 generations like
Yeah,
cut
I
up
see it.
together.
The front is from what, like 1970s, 80s?
Yeah, so this is this 1970 model, then it keeps going, and then this one's the one I have, and this is like the newest one.
992 at the end, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
Wow.
And yeah, so I I made this design, and I was like, oh, it's gonna look great on a shirt
We,
too.
we have we
So
have Lucien Straller. He has 9971.
oh, really? Oh, that's also a really good one. The only reason I got mine was because um, I was flopping between a manual and an automatic, and I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna get an automatic." And then the PDK is the only thing I was like, "Okay, the PDK is actually good enough to drive as a like manual replacement, especially in LA where the traffic is insane." I was like, "All right, we need to have at least one automatic." Uh, but yeah, so like it I what I ended up doing was just like being like, okay, what if I just sold this shirt online? Because like every time I wore this to like a car meetup, everyone would be like, I want this shirt, and I was like, I don't know how to get it to you, but we'll figure it out, I guess. Um, so yeah, so I put it up online, and then I started like getting all this shit on YouTube of like, oh, build an Etsy store and this and that, and I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. And so I just quit my job like a week into it, and I was like, I'm gonna start an Etsy store. And so I put this and a bunch of designs I'd made on the Etsy store for like car fans, and so like it started just picking up immediately, and I started making some money, and like I was like, oh, this is kind of cool,
Oh, nice.
and yeah, and then like I figured that the cost of print on demand is too high. So what I should do is just like let's buy some printing equipment and just like
Yeah.
get into it full time. Because I just like this is a bad habit of mine, but also good in some ways. Is like I just go all in, you know,
Mhm.
and like so I went and bought some printing equipment, and I'm like, all right, let's start another brand because I feel like this brand may get shut down because this is definitely a trademark issue,
Yeah.
right? And so 2 months go by, everything's picking up. I'm making like Porsche posters out of this and mugs, and people are just fucking buying it left and right. And I'm like, sweet, this is great.
Nice. How much revenue you got to?
I think we got to like four grand a month, so it was not bad for like the first couple of months. Like
Yeah.
yeah, and then we and then suddenly I just get this email one day, all your accounts have been shut down,
Oh,
boom
wow.
boom, and like yeah,
So,
Porsche gave us a cease
trademark,
and
yeah.
desist, and like yeah, and Etsy shut
They,
us
they want
down.
they,
Like
they want to sell their own merchandise, right?
yeah, exactly, they were like stop.
Like, and,
Yeah,
and then
so
and then next month you see, like, you come to the Porsche design store and you see exactly the same design.
they're just man, I'd be so bad. Oh,
Ah,
oh man. Yeah. And then like I'm like, shit, now we have all this printing equipment. What do we do? So I was like, all right, we're gonna become a commercial printing company. And so I like that day I built a website, built up a Google listing, I started doing like Yelp ads and start getting like business requests for like companies are like, hey kid, will you print me 30 shirts with the logo? A bar mitzvah is like, hey, my daughter's having a bar mitzvah. I
uh-huh.
want her name and the date on like 50 pajamas. And we are like, sure, why not? Like, so we start doing business like immediately.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's kind of fun in the beginning, but then I'm like, I don't like printing other people's shit. I liked it when it was my designs, but like most of the designs people bring aren't good. And I don't enjoy printing like not good stuff on
You, you
stuff.
you have you have such a good eye for the product after working like in tech
Yeah.
for a long time, right? You just don't tolerate it.
Yeah, I'm just like, this is garbage. Why am I printing this? Like, yeah. Oh my God. So yeah, it was crazy. So like, we do this for a few months, and then I think then I was like, all right, I think I need to try ecom now. Like, I have to like figure this out because this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Um, back in like 2003, 2004, I used to sell armor when I was in college. Like, the stuff they used to wear in movies like Gladiator and Troy and all, like the helmets and shit. Like, I started importing them from India and selling them on eBay, and I was doing like 20K a month for like 2 years on that, and like that was awesome, and I love that feeling. So I was like, I need to do something like that. So my wife and I, we started talking about different brand ideas. We Like, the thing I ended up doing was these like Alcantara cases
Oh,
with
interesting.
my brand. Yeah, and like it was like a fun thing because I was like, oh, it's car related. I can sell it to car fans still and build this whole brand around it. But man, I had like 73 SKUs, and managing that was a nightmare. Especially like I started this in August, and then September, Apple releases the new phones, and I'm like, oh shit, now I have to add a whole another line of like models to the thing. And so I mean, I tried that for like 6 months, and it didn't go so well. Like, I had good months, I had bad months, but a good month was like $1,000 or $2,000 in profit. So it was
Mhm.
like actually shit, compared to anything. So but I was like, okay, just keep trying. Let's see what we can do. And after like I think 6 8 months of doing it, I was like, okay, I need to switch the niche because
Uh,
like I was like, I know enough now that like what I'm doing is not the place to be,
uh-huh.
and um, so yeah, so just like that, I switched over my niche, and I tried that for like a month on my own, and it was not great. I was still losing a lot of money. I think my first month I basically spent like 12K on ads
Oh,
and
wow.
had 8K in sales, and I was like, yeah, this is how we'll burn the house down. This is not good. And I'd been watching your videos for a while, and I was like, if this is there was a time to get into this, this is now,
Mhm.
and I'm so glad because like I was like your whole course is fucking fantastic. Like, it's
Oh, thank you
so
for
well done.
thank
It's the
you, man.
coaches are incredible. I love my calls with them every week. Like, I have my calls with Sergey, Jeremy, Richie, and it's just awesome. I love it.
Awesome, man. And so, like, what's
Yeah,
kind of so the like? I mean, you've tried certain things and it
yeah.
didn't work out. Like, what were like since you joined? When did you join ESS?
May 21st, I think.
So in
Yeah,
May. What were the biggest kind of like before you were trying to do like e-commerce, like different shapes and forms?
yeah.
Like, what were the biggest kind of like? Did you have any like bulb? Okay, so I should do
Mhm.
this instead of that, right? Kind of like mindset
Yeah.
that you had throughout that process.
Yeah, I think like it was just honestly I was learning and just throwing shit at the wall and
Uh,
trying to see what sticks, and then being like, okay, that didn't work. This worked. Let's do more of this. And
mhm,
then let's try some more of that. But it was honestly like a little bit of just guesswork,
mhm,
because you see all these things on YouTube, you're like, okay, like there's, and I think what I learned is like there's no right or wrong way to do things. There's like many ways. You just stick to a way and just go in and do
yeah.
it, and it'll work, like if you just do the right things, right? And um, while I was doing that, I think one of the things that I learned was like, now everyone's doing the same thing. When everyone's doing the same thing, you should not do that thing, right? Like, if
Mm,
everyone's doing X, you should be doing Y, because if you're in the X bubble, then like it's gonna just be the same. And that's what like just being on Shopify and like the whole just general product landing page and to your general checkout, like that's what everyone else is doing. So like, how do you
mhm.
go away from that? How do you differentiate yourself from that,
And so
and I think that's like the
you
biggest thing
started
I
doing
realized. Yeah.
tutorials.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, that's in the connection is lagging.
Oh yeah.
So you started like with advertorials, like more direct response stuff.
Yes, exactly. So advertorials, building like a more thoughtful funnel, putting myself in the user shoes. I put my phone number on the website, and I was like, all right, just call me. And I have like people calling me, and I learn from them. It's kind of like that startup mentality where you do user interviews is the same thing. Is like, I want to talk to my users to see what language they use. I want to talk to them to see what their problems are, what they hate about my product, what do all these things, so I can learn, make it better, and then like crush everyone. Like, that's
This is good, right? So I mean,
yeah,
that experience in tech environment, like you said, user interviews. I think there's like very few people who actually would do that.
yeah,
They
yeah,
wouldn't like, yeah, they they either wouldn't have the phone number, like,
yeah.
or they have like like some customer support agent phone number. So you're like
Right.
you're openly looking for feedback from customers to see what you can do better.
Totally, exactly. And I think that's the most important thing, because like I feel like a lot of people are just in this to like make quick money, but the problem with that is like the quicker it comes, the quicker it goes if you don't pay attention to why it's coming in. And
Mm,
the reason it's coming in because people are paying you money because you're giving them value. If your value is garbage, that money will go away very fast, right? Like, so
mm.
you need to keep providing more and more value and help them understand that as well, so.
Interesting. And so, like, right now you're in this health niche, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, how
Yeah,
is that like? So, before you launched the brand, like, did you do like kind of like some discovery, like in terms of the what products are selling? What was your process for identifying the products to sell, like identifying the niche, and
yeah.
like kind of that process of launching the brand?
It was more, I think, what I did was, instead of looking at like what product I should sell, I was looking for what problem I need to
Mm,
solve. And because I think the problems stay, right? So like you can try different products in a problem, but problems stay, products come and go. And
mhm.
so let's say like um I don't know what problem, like if you have shoulder pain, let's say, right? Like people will always have shoulder pain. You can
Yeah.
have 20 different products, like the infrared one, massaging one, whatever the hell it is. Like there's so many products, and tomorrow there'll be a new product. But shoulder pain will be there. And so, like, if you just pick a problem and say, okay, I'm going to go solve this problem better than anyone else, then, you're onto something. And
Hmm.
so, if you're just saying like, oh man, I just need to find the hot new product without knowing what, why, then I think you may have a harder time writing your advertorial or your checkout page or making your videos because you don't understand the problem that well.
Such a good point. And I see that was I mean, in our business, like we do
Yeah.
like so much research, like
Hmm.
in terms of like, because we're selling mostly like probably like the same as you. We're
Yeah.
selling to like audience at like 45, 50, sometimes 60 plus years old.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I don't have those problems in my life, right? So that I
Yeah.
can't resonate with that person. So the only way I can find out what those problems are and
Yeah.
how to communicate those problems is by doing the research, which is exactly
Right.
what you do, like both
Yeah.
by phone calls and also by doing the research before you even launch the product.
Right. Right. Exactly. And like it's, man, I know so much about my problem now that I never needed to know. But it's so good because like now when I'm doing research and I'm like writing things and writing copy, I'm like in it, and it's actually
Mm,
like I think one of the things that I loved was, I think in your interview with Merrick a while back,
yeah.
I remember watching that, and I remember him just being like, I can live my customer's life, and I can tell that on Friday night they'll go to Taco Bell, or like, it was something like that that you said, and I was like, that is why I need to be an ecom, because like I was like, this is how I used to be when I was building products and apps in startups.
Mm,
And we used to like, for example, at Postmates, the thing you do is you like go deliver. Like engineers would put on a backpack, they would go deliver pizzas and shit, just to be like, I want to see how the app works in the real world, right? In Uber,
ah.
you don't have to, but like in Uber and at Lyft, you would actually drive as a driver, even if you're a software engineer, to just learn how the app works, what the customer's needs are. And so you come up with features and ideas just by putting yourself in those shoes, you know?
Mm, yeah, I think that's like big takeaway for everyone listening.
Yeah.
Before they launch the brand, or even if you have something that's working, right? If you want
Hmm.
to make if you want to make your marketing like more potent, like stronger and like
Yeah.
resonating like that, because that's like the level of depth, right, that
Yeah.
most people never go into. Most people
Yeah.
just like, okay, let's go and like ad library, or like let's go on some
Hmm.
site tools, let's just like rip other people's like ads word to word, you know,
Yeah.
let's just rip their landing pages and funnels, and that
Yeah.
get you, you know, to some revenue, some profit, you know, that can
Right.
get initial momentum though, but that will never make you like a top level marketer, top level
Right.
entrepreneur, like in
Right.
e-commerce. And
Yeah.
all of the successful brands they understand their customers to such a deep like degree that, you
Yeah.
know, if they put on the ads, those ads resonate with customers, and that's why they're getting higher conversions,
Yeah.
that's why they're getting customers to come back, that's why they're building brands that are sustainable and long term.
Hmm.
And
Totally.
I think that's a big takeaway for everyone listening. Just like do more research,
Yeah.
and just like really understand who you're selling to, why they're buying your
Hmm.
product, and understand the problem that you're actually solving
Yeah.
for that.
Totally. It's so true. And even before I picked the product, what I actually did was like, fortunately I already had an agent. And so I basically like collected a list of 20 different products that solved the problem that I
Oh,
was going for. Yeah. And I was like, send them all to me. And then I just tried all of them and I used them. And even though I don't have that problem, like I could be like, oh, okay, like let's take shoulder pain again as an example. Oh man, this doesn't even fit right. Or like this is really uncomfortable. This is garbage. Like this doesn't do anything. And I could just like immediately throw out a bunch of products that would have otherwise been the hot product that someone would have chosen. Right. And
mhm.
the product I ended up going with was actually the one that like I even gave to my aunt. And I was like, hey, you have this problem. Why don't you try this thing? Because I think this is good. What do you think? And I gave this product to my aunt, and she was like, yeah, this is not good. And I was like, oh, how about this one? She's like, oh, I love this one. And so I was like, okay, that's the one I'm gonna sell. And so like you it's just going in one level deeper, or like putting in that a little extra than anyone else does, and going with it.
We have a question here from someone, I think, that just wants to get into e-commerce. So the question
Hmm.
is, when starting e-commerce, does where you live matter?
uh I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer that one, but maybe I don't know. I feel like being in the U.S. is good for me. I like that I can just get everything done pretty easily. I know on the ESS chats I'm reading, people from Europe are trying to do business in the US and it's not as easy. So I feel like I'm pretty fortunate to be here. But I feel like if you're in Europe, you have good markets there as well.
Yeah,
So that's good. I don't know about any of the other countries, uh,
yeah.
but yeah,
I,
I'm
I I can
sure.
I can answer from my side
Yeah.
as well. Like, yeah, as you mentioned, like in our community, we have people from like South America, we have people from Asia, we have people from Europe. So, and
Hmm.
sometimes, as you said, like some of these like European markets, like they're very lucrative. We have a
Yeah.
clients also in ESS, Topi. I don't know if you joining his
Yeah.
calls.
Yeah.
His calls are phenomenal. Uh,
Topi is awesome. Yeah.
yeah, I love Topi, and so he's from Finland. He's selling in German
Hmm.
market. He's selling in Finland, and he's I think last month he finished at like $2 million, like just in those
Yeah.
markets, two
Wow.
million dollars a month, which is pretty nice. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of opportunities. So obviously, as you said, you would have some logistical things that you would have to overcome. Let's say if you're from Europe, you
Hmm.
want to sell in the United States market, so you have to
Yeah.
set up certain things, which is possible, right? Just the kind of like extra things that you
Hmm.
have to put in place. But overall, like with e-commerce, like there's certain markets like Mexico or Latin America,
Yeah.
like that in terms of e-commerce, they're growing like very fast,
Hmm.
and there is just so much opportunity. Like I think United States obviously is a massive market. You can sell
Yeah.
very well, and you just have to be a very good marketer, like what we
Yeah.
discussed previously. But there's certain markets like that, don't even have that level of competition, as long as
Right.
you know what you're doing, right? Like on a like decent like average level, you can do very well with it.
Oh, really? Wow. It's interesting. I actually just, I think today or yesterday, got a comment on one of my ads that was like, "Do you sell in Mexico?" And I was like, "What?" Like, but maybe I'll look into it now.
Yeah, Mexico is a is a great
Yeah.
market.
All right.
What price point do you have for your product right now?
It's pretty high. It's like $200 is my AOV. Yeah.
$200 AUV.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's very
Yeah.
nice. Very,
Yeah, I think so. This is again like I learned a lot from my previous brand, and generally I feel like people are like, "Oh, 3x your product cost with shipping and everything." I was like, "No, I want more margin, and I want to look for a product that'll give me more margin." So like, my new number is like between 5 to 7x,
oh,
right? Like,
5 to 7x your COGS
yes,
basically.
yeah,
Oh wow, that's
and
even
I
better.
feel like that gives me a lot of room to uh, like kind of experiment and like also to make mistakes, but then also keep making a little bit of profit and
Yeah,
everything.
and all of the I always say to people 3x is like is like a bare minimum. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
higher the better. There's certain
right.
companies that have, like, as you mentioned, 5, 7, like even 10x. You know what
Yeah,
their cogs are. They're selling the product at the premium, so now they have a lot of that room because marketing will most likely be your biggest expense, right? So now
yeah,
you have that margin of error, like experiment with different ads,
hmm,
different things,
yeah,
and still make profit at the end.
right.
And that's one of those decisions that, again, like, you're making that decision before you even get into the business, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
obviously you can go to, like, I mean, if you go to any of these spy tools and you try to just, like,
hmm,
replicate, whatever product you see first, oh, these people are selling this product at $25. Let me sell
yeah,
this for $20. And then,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
your your margin is like non-existent. Like,
yeah,
you have no margin to advertise.
right.
So I think, yeah, people should put more, like, strategic thought into about
Totally.
the price point, the economics of
Hmm.
the business, because that will be the deciding kind of point, like whether they can scale their business or not.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, honestly, you have, your marketing, your brand, and what those represent is the services someone gets too. And like the price race is like the worst mistake you can make. You should not compete on price.
Mm,
You can compete on it, but you should not, because like that's a race to the bottom because everyone can just keep lowering their price. What you should compete on is like providing insanely amazing service because that doesn't cost anything extra. You just have to pay attention, and like if you just give people incredible service, man. I like when I speak to my customers, it makes me happy, and then my customers are happy, and everyone's happy at the end of the day. So even if they're returning a product, they're like, "Man, this is amazing. If anyone I know ever needs this thing, like I'll let them know to come to you because like you were awesome. It's like
mm,
sweet, And so you want to create more of that. And again, like that's going back to that startup life that I live because like over there, it's like customer is the only thing you want to listen to and like go for.
mm. That's awesome. So do you still, like, drop shipping? Like, do you still drop shipping items, or do you have, like, inventory that you bought, like, and you're shipping that?
I do inventory. It's still in. I ship from China
Uh-huh.
right now, but I buy the inventory and like
Uh-huh.
I brand it, and it's like fully done. Like I still need to go one step further and like do really nice packaging for it. But I'm just waiting to like hit my next level of scales before
Yeah.
I can invest in that.
It's a nice, like, transition, because
Yeah.
the alternative way here is, like, I talk to so many people. They say, oh, I have this, like, great idea, and, like, or I have this, like, great brand, and I'm like, okay, so you have a great
Hmm.
brand, and I bought, like, inventory, and I have everything. I'm not drop shipping,
Hmm.
you know and then I'm like, okay, how much revenue generating? Oh, I'm not generating any revenue because, like, I can sell it. And they invested
Yeah.
all the money up front into the product,
Yeah.
buying inventory, shipping it, to
Hmm.
3PL, right? Like, paying all of the fees, like, to
Yeah.
keep the product there without properly validating. So
Right.
why, I love this model where initially you can even ship from China was a
Yeah.
good customer experience. Yes, shipping times will be longer, right? So you have to communicate it with customers.
Yeah.
You can still build a business, get initial momentum,
Yeah.
accumulate capital, right? Like, invest that in,
Hmm.
like, shipping
Yep.
that inventory um to the United States or whichever
Yeah.
country you're selling, and then just turn it into,
Yeah.
like, proper brand.
Exactly. Like I feel like buying a lot of inventory before you validate it is like the worst thing you can do. Like even for me, like till I think I got to like 80 sales or something, I didn't commit to any inventory. I was just like buying 10, 20 pieces at a time, and just trying to keep it as lean as possible. And
Yeah,
then as soon as I was like, okay, it seems like I'll be able to make at least 100 more sales, I ordered 100 things. And then I just yesterday I ordered another 100 things. And so it's like slowly building up, and while I just have a pipeline, so that when I say, okay, ship me 1,000 things to the US so I can put them in a 3PL, I still have a good pipeline and I have capital to cover whatever needs to happen.
for sure. So
Yeah.
we have a question here from Bella. Which niche is this? I think we covered this, right? It's a health niche, like basically
Yeah,
pain,
health. Mm-hmm.
pain relief. All right. So yeah, it's not a jewelry. Jewelry is a great niche,
Yeah.
but it doesn't solve.
Yeah. Yeah, jewelry is also a good one. I think you need to be a certain type of marketer for that. It was like the same thing as like I don't think I did these cases justice. Like I had decent marketing, but like I don't think it was anywhere near where it should have been or could have been. But like I just didn't feel like it was solving like a good problem. Like it's
Mhm.
interesting because like the type of people that were buying this is like kind of nuts. It was like people that are like celebrities and CEOs and like actors and musicians. And
Oh,
I was like, oh
you
shit,
had celebrities buying this product?
oh yeah, like it's like I would say 80% of my clientele is like extremely wealthy people.
Oh
You know,
wow.
yeah, and like because again, like it's kind of weird, but like whenever someone buys, I like Google them, I like look them up, I do full on research because I want to understand who is this person,
Uh huh.
and like then yeah, once I understand who this person is, I keep logging it somewhere, and then I create like a average avatar out of that.
Okay, interesting. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
and
also
so like.
such a good tip. So you just take the name
Yeah.
from Shopify and you Google it?
Yeah, Google it. You have their address and you have their name. Like there, you can basically learn
Man,
everything about a person with that, right?
that's such
Like,
a good hack. And even
yeah.
like, I think this is such a great tip for everyone listening because like, okay, so you have customers, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe like, I don't know, you want to optimize and make your business better. The way you do it was better marketing. Okay, so like you said, you go through your Shopify, you take the numbers of customers, or
Mm-hmm.
their names, their addresses, stuff like that. You put it on Facebook, right? You find their profiles on Facebook because most likely they bought from Facebook
Mm-hmm.
ads if you're
Yeah.
advertising on Facebook. You go to their profile, you see who do they follow, right? How do they look,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if they
Mm-hmm.
look like, I don't know, 60, 70-year-old
Yeah.
woman or a man, right? Maybe those are kind of people that you want to be using in your ad. So maybe you need to
Right.
hire some actors, right? Or models or UGC creators that are of that age so that you resonate with that customer that you want to sell to, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's such a great hack to make your marketing a lot more powerful.
Yeah, and it's like those inches that add up and give you that extra yard, right? Like you just keep doing these little things here and there, and then like all of a sudden it's all added up, and now maybe it gives you 10% boost or 20% boost, but that's all you really need to make that margin.
We've had great, like, this is also another hack for everyone listening, just
Yeah,
like even on the websites, right? Like, let's say if we're selling to older demographic, you
yeah,
know we would, like, I mean, when I was not like experienced marketer, we would just take, yeah, here's like young models, like, let's send them the product, they look young, they look good, and so we
yeah.
would use those as, even like on the website, as kind of like the images of customers with a product.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were like, maybe we should try like older people, because I mean, we're looking at the Facebook
Yeah.
breakdown, we see who's buying the products, we're looking as well at these like Facebook profiles, and then we just switched it to the
Yeah.
older demographic, like older people on the website everywhere.
Yeah.
And our conversions like increased 50%.
Wow. Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, because it just resonates,
Yeah.
like, because if people
Yeah.
come to the website and they're like, let's say the lady is like 70 years old, and
Mm-hmm.
she comes to the website and there's another lady like 25 years old with a
Yeah.
product, like, what it has to do with me, like, is this even
Right.
relevant? It's like, probably for some
Exactly.
people, like, I'll never be 25 again. and
Yeah.
And I think this is such a great hack. Like, again, comes down to
Yeah.
really understanding who you're selling your products to.
Right. That is honestly the most important thing is like that customer persona and like just understanding and like living that, you know? If you can do that, man, like that is marketing at the end of the day. The, like, you know, it's not those taglines. Like I've tried those taglines, none of that shit works. Like your ads will fucking go minus so fast if you have a cute tagline that doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
But you need to understand their desires. You need to understand like some market sophistication, awareness, and like all of that stuff.
for sure. So you mentioned you write your own copy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's
for
awesome.
sure.
That's,
Yeah.
that's one of those skills that is like, because I mean, at the beginning you're starting a business, you might not have like a lot of capital, and also you don't want to
Mm-hmm.
spend money, and most copywriters suck, like there's only
Yeah.
so many, is like so few that they're actually good, that they're doing the
Yeah.
proper research, like, and writing good copy. So what were the kind of like, was it something that you were like passionate about, like, or you like this process, or it's just
Yeah.
something that you just realized, okay, I have to learn how to write good copy, and that's one of the skills that's required for me to make this business
Yeah.
successful? Like, what was
Y-
that thought process for you?
I mean, I think it was a mix of both. It was I initially was like, oh, I enjoy it, but then I did it and it sucked. It didn't do well, and I was like, okay, well, I still enjoy it, but I don't know how to do it. So
Mm,
now I need to learn how to do it. And then I just like, man, the number of things I've listened to and watched and read about copywriting, and then I just went so hard and deep into it, and you come out and then you're like, okay, I can maybe do better. And then I think initially, I forgot where I read this, but like the best way to learn is to just keep copying, and then you develop a style based on
mhm,
yourself, right? Like, and so what I would do, I would just like copy other people's copy, and then you just kind of learn, and you say, okay, like now I can at least replicate that, but in my own voice for my own needs. And then as you keep doing it, you kind of realize that, like, oh, this line doesn't make any sense for my customer, or this
mhm.
line will add something. And like, one of the advertorials I wrote, one of the coaches, Sergey, he was like, it needs a little more emotion, it has too much science in it. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And like go back in and like added like a lot of emotion and stuff in it. And I was like, okay, cool. And that advertorial is like crushing it for me right now. It's doing
Nice.
really well. Yeah. And so you just kind of learn, and like you always want to keep your eyes and ears open, because like I think you just have to realize you're not good at anything, when you start, and
Mm,
you just have to keep improving, and you'll just the only way to do that is just keep doing something. There's
mhm.
no like magic formula or trick. You just have to keep doing something and you'll get better at it. Like,
For sure. And having those like expectations, right? Because like,
yeah.
I think, you mentioned that previously, that like, when you're getting into the business, right, you have the expectation that, I mean, why, one way or another, you'll figure it out, right?
Yeah.
It might not be instantaneous, right? It might take
Hmm.
some time, but you will figure it out as long as you stick to it and you keep getting better every day. Like, even if you're getting
Yeah.
better like 0.5% every day, or 1% better every day, better was
Hmm.
writing copy, better was understanding your customers,
Right.
better was like crafting like advertorials that convert, and really like understanding
Hmm.
the whole customer journey.
So,
Like,
yeah.
if you do that for like extended period of time, like, it's just like statistically impossible, like,
Yeah.
not too well, right? It's just like,
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I think the only way to do it and not succeed is if you're actually not learning from your mistakes. Like, take your mistakes as a lesson. Oh man, I made another shirt. So this is like the benefit of the company I had. Man, I was printing shirts left and right for myself. Like in my free time, I was just like, oh, I can design another shirt. So I made like uniforms for myself, and one of them just says, "Failure is a false belief," because like
mm,
failure isn't a thing; it's just lessons learned. And so just get used to just being like, I'm not failing, I'm just learning. That's all it is. Like,
such a good frame, because like, yeah,
yeah,
it's like in the school, school systems usually like frame us that, if you fail,
that's
it kind of,
bad.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like very
yeah,
bad, right? But like, what you've learned probably also from the startup environment is that mistakes are part of the process, right? And
Oh
there's
yeah.
always to be some mistakes. So I think that experience also was valuable from this standpoint.
Oh, big time, man. I've shipped some pretty fucking awful bugs, and then immediately realized, oh man, I gotta fix this thing. And like 2 a.m., I'm on my computer just trying to fix this thing because people can't pay. And I'm like, that's the only thing I shouldn't have messed up is people paying us. And oh yeah, but yeah, it's like that's the thing is like you just have to do it, and then I've never made that mistake again, right? Like that's a good
Mm,
way to learn. And yeah.
for sure.
A-
So,
yeah, at the
w-
first startup I joined, there was a really awesome poster, and I love that. I wish I would have stolen it when we shut down, but like um it used to say make better mistakes tomorrow, right? Like, and
that's
it's
a
such a,
mistake. Huh? That's a good
because
one.
you're not going to stop making mistakes, but learn from your mistake and make like better mistakes, like that are going to teach you more. So
Wow. We had a comment here from Bella, like use AI. Like, are you using AI like with copywriting?
yeah, I definitely do. I don't use the final product that it gives me, but I definitely like get into that situation where like you look at a blank page and you're like, oh shit, what do I do? But AI has been really good for that. Is like you take something that you look at and it's like, oh, that's the thing I want to be. And you take that, put it in AI, and you're like, okay, how can I make it mine? And it gives you a starting point. I would
Mm,
say a lot of the copywriters on Upwork or wherever it is, like that's their biggest mistake is like they'll plug something into AI and just give that to you. And you look at it and it's shit. Right? Like, and
yeah.
I've had that, and I was like, "What the hell, man?" And then so I was like, "I'll just do this myself," and it's turned out better that way.
Which AI are you using? We had another question here.
So I used Chat GPT for a bit. I think that's gotten a little bit worse over time.
Oh,
Um, yeah, it's like what I one of the things I actually did, which is super helpful, and this is an awesome tip for people. But like build your own GPT and put your product info in that GPT, like every little detail. So then it knows about your product, but then also upload like books into it, like
oh, books.
books. Yeah. So what I did,
Oh,
because like
wow.
uh, like I used to lead a machine learning team at Aptiv, and like
Oh, wow.
so I have like decent knowledge of like AI and all. So if you give it good inputs, it'll give you better outputs. And one of the things you can do is just get PDFs of books for like copywriting or marketing or advertising, feed it into the GPT, and then every time you ask it something, it'll take all of that info you've given it and then give you an answer. So like it knows about your product, it knows about like how to write good copy, it knows about marketing principles, which it already knows, but you're like really concentrating it to the ones you want it to follow. So if you
Mm,
like Eugene Schwartz, put in breakthrough advertising and then build your GPT for yourself, and yeah, it'll be personalized to you. Yeah.
wow. This is such a great tip because I mean the AI, like I mean, it's like it's how you use it, right? The
Yeah.
output that it will give you, it's only like what information you feed it with, right? And it
Yeah.
can process information. I mean, for a regular human, like to read breakthrough advertising is like
Yeah.
I was
It's pretty
I
dry.
was reading that book like 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That book is
Exactly.
so good, but it's also very like intense with all of the information. And
Yeah.
so yeah, if you just kind of like use AI and all of the capacity it has for processing information and use it
Hmm.
to your advantage, it can be super powerful.
For sure. Yeah. It's like, yeah, and it's just those little things you want to do. I think Claude is a good one I've been using.
Which one?
Uh, Claude,
Oh, Claude.
Claude.ai. It was actually, I think, like engineers that used to work at ChatGPT or OpenAI that started Claude
Oh,
with
wow,
their,
interesting.
yeah. So
Let me post it for everyone
that's,
to go here. Claude.
mm-hmm. Claude AI is pretty good. Yeah.
Uh huh.
Uh, Yeah, and then like I use a little bit of Midjourney and stuff to try and come up with some concepts and images. It's worked a little bit, but man, you have to be good with those prompts.
Yeah. So, if I can ask you, like, so you know, I
Yeah.
mean, you joined ESS, right? And it's like,
Uh-huh.
because I'm always like thinking about that, like myself. I mean, we spend like hundreds of thousands of dollars like per year, like on like education, like mentorship,
Hmm.
masterminds, right? Just to get the information faster. So,
Yeah.
what was the thought process for you? Like, instead of like trying to figure it out yourself, right? Like, I mean, you can
Yeah.
probably, if you dig like YouTube rabbit hole like long enough, you'll
Yeah.
probably find the information you need, versus like joining the program like ESS,
Yeah.
and just kind of using that to your advantage. What was your thought process?
I mean, I think for me, it was exactly what you said. All the information is free on YouTube, but it's not about the information, it's about the speed of execution for me. So it's like, the best that I've ever learned is from people.
Mm-hmm.
And think having that real time feedback is like super, super valuable. And I
Mm-hmm.
think people miss that because, like, nothing is just the same, right? Like you can take, even product wise, you can copy something exactly and it's not going to give you the same. Oops. And it's not really about the results, it's about like the actions you're taking. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you focus on the actions, I think the big thing you can get is like a correction of your actions as you're going through. Because
Mm-hmm.
the biggest sort of thing that I've seen is, I do something and then Sergey is like, oh man, what if you did it this way? Or like,
Uh-huh.
I scaled um, a little too quickly, and Richie's like, hey, maybe you should like wait until you have better creatives, or something like that, where it
Uh-huh.
works a little bit better.
Mm.
Oh, did I lose you?
Yeah, can you hear me okay? Hello? I think I lost it here. Oh,
Did I lose you? All
yeah,
right,
yeah.
there.
Oh, you're back. You're back.
All right,
That's good.
sorry. I,
Ah.
I I got a call and then it disconnected me from the stream. Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, what was I saying?
oh yeah,
I
yeah.
fast forwarded.
Like the feedback loops that you're getting, like
Yeah.
just inside of ESS, right? Like because you already have some experience. You've been in like another industry, like you're
Mm-hmm.
good at like learning, like that's proven by
Yeah.
your track records, right? Like you can,
Yeah.
if you put your mind to it, like you can learn about like almost like any skill. But you
Yeah.
still decided to invest like in yourself, in the program, in
Mm-hmm.
basically your business, to speed up that process. And because I'm asking this because I
Yeah.
know that there's like people that have the and I know those people, like I met those people, right, that have
Yeah.
the potential, right, like they have like literally like if they had the right feedback loops, right.
Yeah.
I know some people that been doing like e-commerce for like for years, right,
Yeah.
and they still like doing like I don't know, like $30,000 per month, and it's like
Yeah.
small numbers compared to the amount of experience and the time that dedicated to it.
Right.
And for me it's like, gee, I mean, if you that person just was like in the right environment, was giving the right
Mm-hmm.
feedback, right, that person would absolutely crush.
Yeah.
And for me that's like, I appreciate your trust so much, like in us, like in our process. And I'm glad that you're happy with our process. I'm looking forward to just get you to like those sweet numbers, like
Yeah.
uh, help you
No,
build something you're proud of.
honestly, it's been like, you know, I joined and I was pretty confident that like when I joined that I was like, this is the fucking thing that's gonna get me there. Cause like, when you see good talent, you kind of recognize it and then you say, okay, I want to learn from that. I want to breathe the same air. I want to learn the same lingo. I want to talk like this person. I want to be this. Right. And so the best way to do it is to actually like interact with them. You know,
Mhm.
you it's kind of like this is no, this is a weird analogy, but like if you had this like girl in high school and you're like, oh my god, I want her to be my girlfriend or whatever, and all you do is just look at her, then like that's not gonna do shit, right? Like you have to go talk to her or like do something. You have to interact and be like, okay, like if I want this, then I need to just go get it, and I need to learn on of like from the best. And
Mm.
I feel like the best learning that I ever got was learning from the best people, and that's what I feel like ESS provides. And
Oh, thank you,
yeah,
my man. Thank you so much
yeah.
for kind words. Yeah. So what's revenue you're at right now?
So I think this month we'll probably do around like maybe 60 based
Okay.
on my last week's thing. So the first month I did 29.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, so which
First
is
first
like
mo- first
pretty.
month first month's like in pretty much like was this model.
Yeah,
That's good.
exactly. First month we did 29, and I want to say like half of that month my checkout was broken. So I think we were losing like 20-30% of the sales. And I
Bug.
just,
We call
yeah.
it a bug, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And so I had to like reverse engineer using like my software engineering brain and figure out what the hell's going on with this thing. And I figured out what the issue was. And since then, like, we've been back on track, and yeah, it's been really good. I think there's still a lot of improvements that I need to make, and
It's
uh
always like at what
yeah,
at every level you'll see like the more you kind of like getting into it, the more you know, the more you like
yeah,
realize that what you don't know, and the more gaps you see and the more improvements you see. But that's I
yeah,
think that's the whole excitement of the game. It's like there's never a point where you just like feel like you know everything, because there's every
yeah.
time everything's changing and new things to learn.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like same in any industry. It doesn't matter where you are. The day you say I know everything and you stop learning is the day you become obsolete. Right? Like someone
Hmm.
else will learn more than you and like go ahead. Uh,
Amit, my man,
yeah,
thank you so much for joining me. It's been
yeah,
tremendous conversation. I enjoyed it so much. I think people enjoyed it as well.
yeah.
And yeah, we'll have the
Likewise.
recording here as well, in case you guys want to rewatch it. I think there were like a lot of golden nuggets, like very practical tips for everyone to apply. And I appreciate you for trust,
Yeah, of
in us, in
course.
our company. Like, and I'm looking forward to help you get to, I think for like 100K. Let's do 100K the first
Let's do it.
benchmark, and then
Yeah,
go for a meal. Then we go for a
let's
meal.
do it. I love that. I love that. I appreciate everything you've put together. This is brilliant, and like I feel like people should go for this because it's you're not going to do the work for them, but you'll give them every single thing they need to succeed. And like, if you're willing to do the work, then join this and fucking get somewhere.
Let's
Yeah,
go, my man.
let's do
Yeah,
it.
thank you very much
All right,
for
thank
joining
you.
me
I really
today.
appreciate it, Alex.
Thank you everyone for listening, and yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Amit, thank you so much, and yeah.